that is keeping us sober. तो 2 साल लगा ये सब लिखने में, and after another 2 years, on the 10th of April 1935, our big book was printed, first edition. और वो first 164 pages में book में क्या लिखा था? The formula, how to stop drinking. That's where the steps are explained. And the rest of the book, और बाकी जो stories जो था, those are just examples. तो जैसा हम लोग general AA meeting में जाते हैं, when we go to a general AA meeting, that is like reading the big book, because someone will tell a story. I drank like this, I felt like this, I did the steps, and now my life is okay. That's what the stories are. लेकिन the first part of the book was the textbook. So मैं आदमी जो मेरे को steps बताया, उसने बताया ये book अभी पूरा दुनिया में गया है. Now we are in the 4th edition. There are almost 5 crore, 50 million copies of the big book in English and in about 90 other languages. तो सोचो कितने लोग sober हो गया इसमें से. So he said, if you want to do the steps, I can show you how I did the steps. They are from the big book. And if you are willing, we can start. I said, listen, boss, I'm a chronic relapser. मैं तो बार बार आके बार बार पीता है. किधर पीता है? बार बार में ही पीता है. तो हम सर्विस करते हैं, जो तुम लोग बोलते हैं हम करते हैं, आगे बढ़ते हैं, but I keep slipping. So I said, okay, let's do the steps and see how you go. तो I said, मेरे पास बिग बुक नहीं है. बोला नो प्रॉब्लम, क्योंकि ग्रुप में बिग बुक है, तुम जल्दी आ जाओ and we can start doing the steps. Now this was 23rd April 1990. The meeting was from 7 o'clock to 8:30 in the evening. And I met this man about 8:30. We started talking. And he said, Chalo, let's start step 1. I said, now? He said, हाँ अभी. I said, why? So he opened the big book to page 58. And the question in my mind is, when can I start taking the steps? क्यों? क्योंकि मीटिंग्स में मैं ये सब चौधरी लोग और ज्ञानी लोग से मैं सुनता है, wait 90 days before you do the steps, wait 1 year before you do the steps. All bloody nonsense. You're bloody idiots who have not read the big book. Please, आप big book खोलो. Please don't take my word for it. Open your big book to page 58. And the second paragraph वहाँ लिखा है, if you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. अगर तुम निर्णय किया कि तुम कुछ है जो हमारे पास है और तुम कुछ भी करने के लिए तैयार है, तो तुम तैयार, then you are ready to take the steps. क्या बात है यार, बिग बुक में थोड़ी लिखा 90 days रुको, 1 year रुको, स्पॉन्सर का पैर पकड़ो. What? None of the nonsense. You want what we have, you are ready to do the steps. I said, yes. I said, कल मैं पिया 22 तारीख को. बोला, आज तो सोबर है ना, let us start. तो I said, ये कौन सा steps है? बोला, ये देख, पेज 60, 59, 60 में ये 12 steps जो लिखा है, these are the steps. अच्छा. लेकिन यहाँ लिखा है, if you want what we have. Who is this we? ये we कौन है? ये बोलते हैं. तो बोला, अरे भाई, we is दो लोग जिसने ये बुक लिखा है. So if you open your big book to the forward to the first edition, it says, we of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. Arey, more than 100. One आदमी can be wrong, 2 people can be wrong, 10 people, 100 men and women. They have recovered. उन लोग बोलते हैं recovered. अभी मैंने सुना ये uneducated old timer लोग से, you can never be recovered. अरे तेरी माँ की बुक पढ़ना साले. The cover of the big book, if you open the book, the first title page says Alcoholics Anonymous, the story of how thousands of men and women have recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. Boss, so recovered का मतलब क्या है? What the hell does recovered mean? About 25 years ago, in 1998, my uncle in New York had a heart attack. Okay. They took him to hospital. They did what they had to do. My uncle recovered from his heart attack. He is not cured from heart disease, but he recovered from that heart attack. Now, if he takes his medicines every day and he does what the doctors tell him to do, he will never have a relapse, but he will always be a heart patient. It is the same with me. If I take the medicines, the 12 steps, if I go for meetings and if I share with people, I will never have a relapse. I will always be an alcoholic, but I will have recovered from my alcoholism. Please read Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers, where Dr. Bob says, if I continue to do what I do today and I continue to think as I think today, I will never take a drink as long as I live. So, who is this we? More than 100 people who have recovered. What are they recovered from? From what is killing me? Alcoholism, पीने का problem. Wow. So if you want what they have and are willing to go to any length to get it, अच्छा, what they have, what do they have? उन लोग के पास क्या है? What do they have? So if you go back to page 15 of your big book, and I hope you have your big book with you, so you can go back and you can see what I'm talking about. At the bottom of the page in the last paragraph in Bill's story, now they are telling you what they have. The joy of living we really have, even under pressure and difficulty. He said, I've seen hundreds of families set their feet in the path that really goes somewhere. All sorts of domestic problems have been solved. People have come out of asylums and treatment centers and resumed a rightful place in society. And there's scarcely any form of trouble and misery which has not been overcome. अरे बाप रे, ये चाहिए मेरे को यार. I want my family problems to be solved. I want to be respected again in the workplace. And all these things have happened after I did the steps. So this is what these people have. Yes, I want it. But I'm a little unsure. How do I know? हमको कैसा मालूम कि हमको मिलेगा जो इन लोग के पास है? How do I know that I can have it? Well, if you open your book to page 153, at the top of the page in the second paragraph, it says, it may seem incredible that these people have become happy, respected, and useful once more. How have they come out of such misery and bad repute and hopelessness? And now they give the solution. The practical answer is that since these things have happened among us, they can happen with you. Should you wish them above all else and be willing to make use of our experience, we are sure they will come. So, boss, if you have made the decision that you want what we have and are willing to do anything to get it, then if you do what we did, the authors are saying, the first one, then you will get what we have got. Happy, joyous and free. Doesn't say I'm going to become a millionaire. उन्हें बोलते कि हमारे पास बंगला रहेगा और हम दरिया के सामने रहेगा और स्विमिंग पूल होएगा और no. But it says I will have joy of living. जिंदगी का मजा. That's what I will have. Wow. चलो. तो मैंने decision लिया from page 58. Yes. I have decided I want what you have. I'm willing to do the steps. Sponsor, okay. You're willing to do the steps? Chalo, let us start with step 1. Let us find out, Troy, if you have a drinking problem or not. So we opened the book to page number 44 in the chapter We Agnostics. And I'm just reminding everybody, all I'm doing is sharing my experience. I'm sharing how I got sober. I told you what was like, how I drank, and what the problems were. This is what happened. All right. After 6 years of doing total nonsense in AA, thanks to zero guidance from so-called old-timers, finally I met one person who spoke the truth. And he says, okay, you want to do the steps? Let's go. Step 1, page 44. And over there he said, look, there are only 2 questions. for you to decide whether you have a problem or not. The fourth line. If when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, or if while drinking, you have little control, then you're probably alcoholics. Yes, sir. I honestly want to, for 6 years, I have honestly been trying to stop. Yeah. Every Monday morning, I said, yeah, that's it. Ho gaya mera. No, I'm not going to drink again. Sometimes the same day I'd been trying. Sometimes within 2, 3 days, I would relapse again. And so I said, yes, I honestly want to, and I'm not able to. So that means I'm mentally powerless. My mind says band karo aur wohi man bolte hai piyo. And if while drinking you have little control, every time I said, chal aaj main do hi piyunga. And then I lied to myself. Arey hum do peg thodi bola, hum do bottle bola. Nonsense. So I said, yes, I'm definitely going to be uh, I have to admit that I'm mentally powerless and physically powerless over alcohol. So, what are some of the methods that I had tried? How do I know that I am powerless? Okay. If I go to page number 31, okay, the second paragraph, they give us many methods of stopping drinking. And I've tried so many of those methods from page 31, drinking beer only, limiting the number of drinks, never drinking in the morning, never drinking with certain friends, changing jobs, changing countries, doing this, doing that. I went on that whole list. And then, my sponsor said, look, nobody has got a gun to your head. Okay. You have to decide for yourself whether you have this problem or not. And he said the best part about AA is AA gives you pura freedom to find out. इधर कोई नहीं बोलते इधर बैठ के अभी तुम सोबर ही हो जाओ बोला पहला तो फाइंड आउट करो whether you are an alcoholic or not. तो बोला बिग बुक में 3 टेस्ट है. टेस्ट नंबर 1 पेज 33 last 4 lines. They said if you don't think you're an alcoholic, बंद करना जिंदगी के लिए. Stop for the rest of your life. Never drink again. I don't know about you, but I can't tell you how many times मैं बोला अभी कभी नहीं करेगा जिंदगी भर. That's it, I'm done. Never work. Test number 2, page 34. Acha chal, you can't stop for your whole life. Stop for 1 year. Second paragraph. Try and stop for 1 year. They said most will be drunk within a few weeks, some the same day. That is me. वो भी fail हो गया. Then they said, okay, chalo, test number 3. Page number 31, last paragraph. And this is all in the big book. Huh? तू मत बोलो Roy बोलता जाके पी. It's in the big book. They said you can quickly diagnose yourself. Step over to the nearest bar room. Try some controlled drinking. Try it more than once. And see, तुम एक पैक पी के उठ के जा सकते हैं क्या? My sponsor gave me 10 rupees. जा उधर एक आंटी का अड्डा है. Go and see if you can take 1 drink and walk away. Can you do that? I could not do it. So I said, boss, I have tried all this. I have failed. I'm admitting I am completely powerless over alcohol. Please tell me how I can do the step. He said, so far you have only admitted that you are powerless. Okay. Now let's see if your life is unmanageable. So we said, okay, let us go to page number 52 of the big book. So I opened to page 52. And he said there are 8 questions over there. They are very simple yes or no questions in the second paragraph. We were having trouble with personal relationships. 100%, yeah. घर में झगड़ा, पड़ोसी के साथ में झगड़ा, समाज में झगड़ा, ऑफिस में, fighting with everyone, at home, with my neighbors, in society, at work. Totally having trouble with personal relationships. Number 2, we couldn't control our emotional natures. Of course, you would say something to me, I'd get totally angry, I'd want to hit you. Some girlfriend would dump me, I'd get totally sad, totally heartbroken, end of the world. No control over emotional natures. Number 3, prey to misery and depression. Boss, I was 28 years old. I was broke. I was jobless. I had bloody 180 rupees in the bank. I was sleeping on my grandmother's sofa. Of course, I was miserable and depressed. Number 4, we couldn't make a living. I'm just telling you, I am jobless. How I'll make a living? Bhik mange from all my bloody relatives, I'm surviving. We had a feeling of uselessness. I felt totally useless. 28 years old, all my friends from school had gone on in life. They'd become doctors and lawyers and business people. Some had got married and had kids. Hum idhar chak mare at 28 years old. 0 days sober. We are full of fear. I was totally full of fear, yeah? Will I ever come out of this? Is there any hope for me? Will my life get better? Number 7, we were unhappy. Totally unhappy. And number 8, we couldn't seem to be of help, real help to others. Arey, other people chodo, I can't be of help to myself. So it is these 8 things that cause the unmanageability. Mental, emotional, financial. And what happens with this unmanageability? You know, when I am unmanageable like this, then the big book says on page 35, the mental state that precedes the relapse is the crux of the problem. जब भी मेरा मन ऐसा है, where I'm worried about relationships and money and jobs and fear and unhappy and feeling useless, पूरा मेरा mind में bloody, it's like one chutney going on over there, you know, like one chakki atta ka. And then what does that happen? Now you got to go to the doctor's opinion. And on the 4th page of the doctor's opinion at the bottom, the doctor says they become restless and irritable and discontent. Bechan, chichidapan, and asantosh. And what is my solution to being RID? My solution is on the next page. Unless I can again experience a sense of ease and comfort which comes at once by taking a few drinks. So I have so number 1, I'm powerless over alcohol from page 44. 2 questions. I can't stop, I can't control. Number 2, I'm completely unmanageable from page 52. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, socially. Number 3, this is my mental state when I wake up in the morning. Abhi kya hoega? Total newcomer, na? Full of fear, totally unhappy. And that makes me restless, irritable, discontent. And then I come to the meeting and instead of getting a solution, Are, yetra, aa jao, baito, keep coming, everything will be okay. Nothing got okay for 6 years. Because whole day I'm walking around with these feelings. And eventually my mind says, have a drink. How long will I keep doing this? The big book says, on page 30, it is not surprising. It says, therefore, it is not surprising that the persistence of this is that our drinking careers have been characterized by countless vain attempts to prove we could drink like other people. And again, Dr. Silkworth says on that same page, on the 5th page of the doctor's opinion, XXXI, he says, this is repeated over and over. And unless this person can have an entire psychic change, there's very little hope for his recovery. Oh my God. So is there any hope for me? Is the question that I asked this guy. And he said, of course. He said, look what the doctor says in the next paragraph. He said, on the other hand, strange as this may seem to those who do not understand, once the psychic change has occurred, The very same person who seems doomed is find himself easily able to recover. But he has to follow a few simple rules. What are these rules? Back to the steps on page 5960, the 12 steps. So if I do the 12 steps, then I'll recover from my alcoholism. Yes, absolutely. That's what the big book promises. So when should I start with the steps? Some people say we should wait a while. How long should I wait? I don't know about you people. I can only share my experience. So here's what the big book says on page 95. They say sometimes the new man wants to start at once, and this is sometimes a mistake. So what should I do with the new sponsee? Give him a big book. Ask him to read the book and call you back. Okay, we didn't have big books in India, by the way. In 1990, a GSO was only 3 years old. We were just getting ready to, print our first big book, but we didn't have it. Some of the groups had books and some members had books. So, if I have decided that I want what you have, then I'm ready to take the steps. Okay, so I'm ready. So, how do I take the 2 parts of step 1? I have to basically answer these questions yes or no. If when you honestly want to, Roy, can you stop entirely? No, I can't stop. If when drinking, do you have little control? Yes, I have little control. I always fail. What about unmanageability? Are you having trouble with personal relationships? Yes. Are you having? Are you able to control your emotional natures? No. Are you prey to misery and depression? Yes. Are you miserable and depressed? Yes. Can you make a living? No. Are you feeling useless? Yes. Are you full of fear? Absolutely. Are you unhappy? You bet. Can you be of real help to other people? No, I can't even help myself. So I've answered yes to all these 10 questions. So how exactly do I take the step? So then we went to page number 30. And in the second paragraph, it says, we learned we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholic. This is the first step of recovery. The delusion that we are like other people, or presently maybe, has to be smashed. So we came to this point, and now the sponsor, this guy who's doing the steps with me, he says, look, you have to take the step yourself now. He says, we learned we had to fully concede to our innermost self. So he said, take some time and you decide. For 6 years I'd been going to AA meetings and like a jackass has to put up, hi, my name's Roy, I'm an alcoholic. I didn't even know what an alcoholic was. So then when we came to this step, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. But then on page 30, it said, we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholic. So then I want to know, who is an alcoholic? So, in the doctor's opinion, the doctor says, who is an alcoholic? An alcoholic is someone who has a physical allergy. It's the 4th page of the doctor's opinion. He said, if you drink, you will have an allergy. Your body will crave alcohol. And if you stop, your mind will tell you to drink again. That's who an alcoholic is. And then the doctor on page XXX, he talked about different types of alcoholics. Type number 1, psychopath, emotionally unstable, makes many resolutions but never a decision. I said, yep, that's me. Type number 2, unwilling to admit he can't take a drink, plans various ways. I said, that's me. What do you mean I can't? Type number 3, periodic, believes that after being free for a while, he can drink without danger. I said, that's me. Type number 4, manic depressive type. That's me too. Sukh mein piya, gum mein piya, happy I drank, sad I drank. And type number 5, type's entirely normal, except in the effect alcohol has on them. And then the doctor says, all these and many others have one symptom in common. Can't start drinking without experiencing the phenomenon of craving. I said, wow. What do these alcoholic types have in common? We can't start drinking without developing a phenomenon. So who are these many others? So if you go to the chapter to wives on page 108 to 110, they describe 4 different types of husbands. Husband number 1 may be only a heavy drinker. So I went through all that and I was saying, yeah, that happened. Yes, this happened. Yes, that happened. And they said, but if he doesn't stop, he'll become a real alcoholic, a true alcoholic. Type number 2 is husband number 2, showing lack of control. So that's me. I saw all the symptoms there. Type number 3 has gone much further. He's already going to hospitals, losing jobs and friends. That is me. I came in on that. And type number 4 is rock bottom, reach the streets. That is as yet for me there. I am the son of 2 medical professionals. So I said there must be some treatment. Where's the medicine? And then Dr. Silkworth on page XXX says, among physicians, the general opinion is that most chronic alcoholics are doomed. Wow. And then he says it has never been with any treatment with which we are familiar permanently eradicated. The only thing we have to suggest is entire abstinence. Wow. And what does AA say? On page 31, it says physicians who are familiar with alcoholism, it says physicians who are familiar with alcoholism agree that there is no such thing as making a normal drinker out of an alcoholic. Science may one day accomplish this. It hasn't done so yet. This was written in 1939, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and people. And is still true today. Who is this doctor who is giving us this information? He's a very, very learned man. Dr. William Silkworth is a graduate of Princeton University, New York University. He is the head of Bellevue Mental Health Hospital. He was the head of the first rehab in the world, Towns Hospital. He treated more than 50,000 alcoholics before he died. He is the guy who's saying this. So at this point, I sat down, I took 5 minutes, and I said to my sponsor, that's it, I'm done. I am an alcoholic, and I've admitted to my innermost self that I'm an alcoholic. I have no power, I can't stop, I can't quit, I can't control, and my life is unmanageable. He said, very good, congratulations, let us do step 2. Step 2, came to believe a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. So that was a little difficult to me really, because I was an agnostic. Number 1, my parents come from 2 different religions. Mother's side of the family is Hindu. Father's side of the family is Christian. और मैं दोनों को नहीं मानता. Over and above that, I was sexually molested by one religious person. So I didn't want to have anything to do with religion and God and all this. I never went to anything for years. And now suddenly I've come to AA. And AA is saying, oh, you have to have a higher power, this and that. You see, I want to know, why do I need a power grid myself? On page 45, they tell us, lack of power. That was our dilemma. Roy, if you had the power, you would not be at an AA meeting. You would just stop. Boss, तेरे पास power नहीं. इसलिए तुम आया नहीं था. Correct. Lack of power. That's the dilemma. What is a dilemma? Dilemma is from the time I was small. I have been told I can do anything I set my mind to do. But I was not able to stop drinking. So I needed to find some power greater than myself. Obviously. But listen, I'm a pretty ethical guy, yeah. I was in the Boy Scouts and I helped people. And so if a mere code of morals was enough, why couldn't I stop? It was not enough. It failed utterly. But what if I'm an atheist and agnostic? On page 44, they say, if you're an atheist and agnostic, you got only 2 alternatives to face. 1, go on to the bitter end, or 2, accept spiritual help. Wow. Is there a middle path? Tell me on page 25. If you are as seriously alcoholic as we were, then we believe there is no middle of the road solution. One is to go on to the bitter end, and the other accepts spiritual help. So again, they give me that. They said, boss, if you have the willpower, go ahead, enjoy. You'll be able to do it. But if you don't have and I had to look at my own history. For 6 years, I had been trying. Okay, but listen, I'm a pretty smart guy. I've listened to you guys carefully. Can I not raise a defense against this? Page 24. The fact is that most alcoholics, for reasons yet obscure, have lost the power of choice. They are without defense against the first string. Sometimes I have to laugh because when I'm sitting at an AA meeting and I hear someone say, oh, today I choose not to drink. I said, wow, तेरा पास choice है, then you don't belong in an AA meeting. Na? Why you're coming here? तेरा पास इतना दम है. And if you have the choice, don't drink. Don't come here and waste our time. The big book written by the first 100 people say the fact is most alcoholics have lost the power of choice. I don't have the power of choice. I live in New York and I live in Goa. Both are full of alcohol. So when this sort of thinking, page 24, okay, is firmly established on an alcoholic of my kind, all the 5 types of Dr. Silkworth, all the 4 types of husband, I have placed myself beyond human aid. And unless locked up, I will die or go permanently insane. I'm beyond human aid. Doctors can't help me, psychologists can't help me, rehabs can't help me, outpatients can't help me, counselors can't help me, so-called sponsors can't help me. So who can help me? Page 43, once more, last paragraph. The alcoholic at certain times, okay, cannot raise a mental defense against the first string. This defense must come from a higher power. Oh, that seems pretty hopeless, man. So were any of you people atheist or agnostic is my question. And again on page 44, they give me hope. They say it isn't so difficult. Okay? More than half the original 100 members were atheists or agnostic, and all of them got sober. So if they can do it, and they can find some kind of higher power, then I can. But where and how am I going to find this power? And on page 45, they tell me, Roy, that's exactly what this book about. The main object of this book is to enable me to find a power, and that power will solve my problem. Wow. What do I need to do to find this power? Page 568. Most emphatically, we wish to state that any alcoholic can recover if they can be honest, if they have an open mind, okay, and if they are willing to do what we have, willingness, honesty, and open-mindedness. These are the essentials of recovery, but they're indispensable. Okay, that's great. So even though I'm an agnostic and I don't believe in a formal God, how can I believe? Well, page 46 says, as soon as we laid aside prejudice, religion is like this and people are like that, and soon as we laid aside prejudice and were willing to admit the possible existence, shayad ek higher power hai, we commence to get results. Wow, willingness. But how do I define God? Page 46 it says, much to our relief, we discovered we did not need to consider another's conception of God. My own conception, however inadequate, was sufficient. My own conception. So this guy said, do you have any friends left? I said, yeah. He said, why? I said, oh, they bail me out, they lend me money, they find me jobs, they hook me up, they forgive all my kind. He said, write that down. He said, अगर by chance दुनिया में ऐसा इस तरीके भगवान होता था, would you believe? I said, if this kind of God was there, I would definitely believe. Page 47, first line. When therefore we speak to you of God, Roy, we mean your own concept of God. So what is my concept of God? My concept of God is a God that is willing, a God that is generous, a God that is loving, God that is kind. And this God can be found anywhere. I don't have to go to a religious institution to find this God. I can sit in my bed and pray. I can sit by the beach and pray. I can pray while I'm cycling. But that's my concept. Other people have no problem. They believe in God. That is their concept. What if I don't want to be believed? And it says on page 48. Face or alcoholic destruction, some of us get a lot of hits until eventually alcohol will make us willing. Is there any proof? Yes. On page 50, here are thousands of men and women, worldly indeed. They like their kadi, paisa, chokri, bangla, money. They are worldly. But all of them said that as soon as they came to believe in a power and and took a certain attitude towards that power and did other simple things, they were free. So on page 52, when I saw others solve their problems by simple reliance on the spirit of the universe, I had to stop doubting the power of God. My ideas didn't work, but the God idea did. So where can I find this God? Big Book says on page 55, deep down in every man, woman and child is the fundamental idea of God. Okay, so what do I have to do to take the step? A second step, kaisa lena? There's this very simple question on page 47. It says, do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe that there's a power greater? Yes. I was completely willing to believe that there was some kind of power of my own description that could restore me to sanity. What was my insanity? Page 23, an obsession that somehow, someday I will beat the game. It's like right now this IPL cricket is going on. My insanity is I'm sitting here. Arey, he should have taken the shot like this. He should have bowled the ball like that. As if I can go there and win the game. That is insanity. If I drink like this, I'll be okay. Page 24. I have slipped so many times. This time when I drink, I'll drink like other people. And finally, page 30. The obsession of every abnormal drinker that one day he will control and enjoy his drinking. कंट्रोल में पिया तो कोई एंजॉयमेंट नहीं मिला, एंड एंजॉय करने को गया तो बाकी क्राउड कंट्रोल का जरूरत पड़ा, because I would do all kinds of nonsense. So this was how I did step 2. I sat down quietly. I reviewed my own concept of God. I reviewed all my insanity. I viewed all the people in AA who had been sober for so many years by simple reliance on the power of God. And I said to myself, yes, I do believe कि कौन सा भी शक्ति है. But I said to my sponsor, I'm done. He said, great, you've done step 1, you've done step 2, let's do step 3. So I said, now? He said, now only. How long you're going to wait? I said, listen, I don't have time, I'm free only 1 day a week. So if you want to do the steps with me, then when you get time, I do it. Right now I have time, kar de mere saath. He said, wow. I said, but वो old timer लोग बोलते हैं 90 days रोको, तीसरा पायरी के लिए तुम 3 साल के बाद में करो. He said, अरे उन लोग को सब बोल जा. He said, all I can do is share my experience, and my experience is based on the first 100 people who wrote the book. And he asked me that question. If you want what I have and are willing to go to any length to get it. I said, yes, I want what you have here. You're 36 years old and 16 years sober. I'm 28 years old and I'm chak maar raha hai idhar. He said, okay, let us take step 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand Him. Wow. So, when can I take the step? On page 60, I mean, just now at the start of the meeting, there was one member who was reading how it works in Malayalam. I don't understand Malayalam, but when he was finishing reading, he said A, B, and C in English. Sorry, I just had a sip of water. And ABC, I know. So if you open to page 60 of your big book and you see the ABCs, A, that we were alcoholic and could not manage our own life. That is step one. Hum le liya. Convinced. B, that probably no human power could relieve my alcoholism. I couldn't relieve, my girlfriend couldn't relieve, my grandmother couldn't relieve, A members couldn't relieve, doctor couldn't relieve, my bosses couldn't relieve. Nobody could relieve my alcoholism. And see that God could and would if he was sought. I'm willing to believe. So you see, the next two words in the big book are being convinced. We were at step 3. हाँ बॉस, हम टोटली कन्विंस्ड है कि ए हम शराबी है और मेरा जिंदगी अस्त व्यस्त है. बी कि कोई इंसान हमको नहीं सुधर सकते, होश में नहीं ला सकते. और सी कि सिर्फ कौन सा भी ऊंचा शक्ति हमको मदद कर सकते. तो हम क्या करना है? So it says we decided to turn our will and our life over to God as we understood Him. And just what do we mean by that? And the book says the first requirement, not a suggestion. The first requirement is that any life run on self-will can hardly be a success. Because on that basis, I'm almost always in conflict with someone or somebody, even though my own motives are good. So you see, I just didn't understand this third step. क्योंकि ये जैसा मैं बोला 6 साल के लिए वो पांडु लोग जो अपने आप को ओल्ड टाइमर बोलते हैं बिना स्टेप करके, जैसे अरे हैंड ओवर करना, कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम है हैंड ओवर कर. अरे साला मेरे पास नौकरी नहीं है, तो अरे हैंड इट ओवर टू गॉड. तो मैं गॉड को हैंड ओवर किया, मैं घर में बैठा, फिर भी कुछ नौकरी नहीं मिला. तो इसी that is not what we are supposed to do. Please understand. So I started studying this step. And it said, made a decision to turn our will and life over to the care of God. So first is turn. Turn का मतलब क्या है? Turn means to move in a different direction, to change course. अभी मैं कौन सा direction में जाता था? Drinking, losing jobs, losing girlfriends, fighting, always broke, always sick. That was the direction of my life, trying to control. And they are saying turn, move in a different direction. What is a different direction? Don't drink, take help from AA, use the steps, find another job, start saving money. It is to change course. See, when this COVID started, I was stuck in Goa. And in the evening, they would open for 1 hour so we could go to the shop. Okay. So one day it opened, I jumped on my motorcycle to go to the shop. I had no helmet, no license, nothing. I just had some money. And suddenly आगे मैं नाकाबंदी देखा. So what do you think? I went to the police and said, hello, हम ये member है, मेरा पास helmet नहीं है, license नहीं है. Nonsense. I turned, मैं पतली गली से निकल गया. I went in a different direction, came home, got my helmet and all, and then I went back. So that's what when we say turn, it means to move in a different direction. Turn over, not hand over. Then they say decision. What is the meaning of decision? Decision means to choose. It's a conclusion of the mind. It's from the Latin word incisse, to cut. I am making a choice कि ये life, I am going to leave it behind. And I am choosing to live a new kind of life which is alcohol free. Then we come to that famous one, will. What is will? What is icha? Will is a choice made in the mind. Okay? And that's where the main problem is. Page 23. Based on our decisions, decision is my thinking. Again, the main problem, page 23. So about 2 months ago, Shibu had asked me, hey, can you do a step study for the Midnight Stars group? I thought about it in my mind. Oh, it's Saturday night. Can I do it? I prayed about it. And then I made a decision. Yes, I will do this. So will, icha is a choice made in my mind. Why do I need to turn my mind over? Because my mind is unhealthy. Main problem is there, page 23. What is my life? My life is a series of actions based on my will, on my thinking, on my choices, on my decisions. So, when I'm making a decision to turn my will and life over to the care of God, okay, I'm actually making a choice to turn my thinking and actions over to the care of God. This turnover and handover, I'll give you a simple example. Okay. In the 1980s, I used to work at Bombay Airport, so I'd get free tickets. So sometimes you just go to Dubai, do some shopping, come back. And every time I came back, I would buy 5, 6 bottles of scotch. अगर मेरे को पकड़ गया रेड चैनल में, custom officer say, Roy, you only allowed 2 bottles. What will happen with the other 4 bottles? I have to hand over. Am I going to get it back? No. That is the meaning of handover. Now, what is the meaning of turnover? 21 years ago in New York, my son was born. My wife and I are both working full time. We are just ordinary middle class people. We can't afford maids and nannies and all this. So we would turn over our child in the morning to child care. और वो child care में क्या करता है? They would feed him, teach him ABC, clean his nappy, give him food, let him sleep. Evening we would take him back. So we would turn our child over to the care of the child care center, which is the higher power. I am being asked to turn my thinking and my actions over to the care of God. Oh God, wake up in the morning. हम तो साला पागल शराबी है. I want what I want when I want it. I want lots of money and no work and lots of sex. That is me. That is my thinking. So God, please look after my thinking for me. And then I go about my day. Nobody says, "Chal, God, अभी तेरे को जो करने का कर और मैं इधर बैठेगा." And I'll sit here and wait for God to send me messages. Boss, I don't know about you. It doesn't work like that for me. So turn, and then it said, first requirement is that any life run on self-will can hardly be a success. So now we know that will means thinking. What is meant by self? Okay. So you see, I'm going outside the big book for a minute to another book written by A called the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. By the way, it's not 12 by 12, it's 12 and 12. So on page 42, there's a beautiful description of self, you know. And what Bill W. writes is that creation gave us instincts for a purpose. We all have a survival instinct. In order to survive, I must eat. To eat, I need money. For money, I must work, or I must steal, or I must beg, or I must borrow, or I must be some bade baap ka ladka. So someone like me has to work. And when I eat, I feel nice. My instinct is fulfilled. The second instinct they talk about on page 42 is the social instinct. You can't just live by ourselves and do nothing. We want the company of others, you know. So we build houses and we build communities and towns and cities and countries. You take a baby. When a baby is born, it starts crying. Why? So that it gets milk and it will survive. Who is teaching the baby this or 9 months ke andar in the mother's womb? It is born with this knowledge, so it is an instinct. Second instinct was social instinct. You see that same baby when they're 2, 3 years old, you see them outside, they are playing. They just play with other children. उन लोग 2, 3 साल है, they don't ask तुम्हारा धर्म क्या है, तुम कितना पैसा कमाते है, तेरा बाप क्या करता है. They are children, they just play. It's a social instinct. They don't have to be taught that. And the third instinct is the sex instinct. I don't know about you people, but when I was in school in 1970s in India, कोई sex education था ही नहीं. फिर भी जब भी टाइम आया, आई न्यू व्हाट टू डू. पहले बार जब भी हम सेक्स किया, हम वो लड़की को थोड़ी बोला 1 मिनट डार्लिंग, जरा मैं 9th स्टैंडर्ड का बायोलॉजी बुक में देखते अभी अभी क्या करने का. आई डिडंट हैव टू आस्क एनीबॉडी. I didn't have to consult any books. I just knew. My body knew what to do. That is why we call it an instinct. And why are we talking about this? Because the big book says that the first requirement is that any life run on self-will can hardly be a success. So self is made up of my instinct for survival, social and sex. Money, power, fame and sex. और जब भी मेरे को ये सब चीज मिलते हैं, मनी, पावर, फेम एंड सेक्स, आई फील गुड. और मेरे को क्या, मेरे को और का बीमारी है. आई वांट मोर. I want more money. I want more wow. I want more sex. So I drive to get more. And I hurt other people and they retaliate and I get resentful and then I drink. You know, people will say, hey Roy, tell me a little bit about yourself. I'll say, oh, I'm 61 years old, I'm divorced, I'm single, I have a 21-year-old son. I own two businesses, one in USA, one in India. I am the secretary of my society over here and in my AA group and the treasurer. So you see, I have told you three things about my instincts. I have told you my survival instinct, I own two businesses. I told you my social instinct, I'm secretary of the society, treasurer in my AA group. And my sex instinct, I'm telling you, I'm 62 or 61, I'm divorced, I don't have a girlfriend, I'm single. So immediately I have told you a little bit about myself. So you see, I keep trying to fill myself. So what is the main problem of Roy? Page 62. Selfishness, self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our troubles. And driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, self-pity, we step on the toes of our fellows and they hurt us. Sometimes they hurt us without provocation. But we say we don't realize that. So our trouble we think is of our own making. They arise out of our self instincts. And the alcoholic is an extreme example of self-will, instinctual thinking, run riot. So he usually doesn't think so. So I don't know about you guys, but when I was new in AA, very often I used to hear old-timers say, आज भी सुनते हैं मैं, oh, this is a selfish program. What bloody nonsense. Read the big book. Page number 62, it says, above everything, we alcoholics must be rid of selfishness. We must, or it kills us. Boss, if you don't get rid of this selfishness, you're going to die. Oh my God. How am I going to do that? Page 62, God makes it possible. Okay, I'm ready to do the third step. What do I have to do? And on the last paragraph of page 62, it tells me how to do step 3. It says, this is the how and why of it. It said, first of all, I have to quit playing God. It didn't work. Huh? How do I play God? एक बहुत अच्छा उदाहरण दिया page 60-61. They said each person is like an actor who wants to run the whole show. My actor का नाम निकल के I put my name there in the big book. Roy is like an actor who wants to run the show, wants to be the director. And I'll, hey, तू इधर जा, तू ऐसा कर, तुम ये करो, you do this, you do that, you do the other, and life will be good. What happens? People don't want to do what I want to do. They do what they want to do. I get upset. I become restless, irritable, and discontent, and I drink. So this is my selfishness. So what do I have to do? What do I have to do? If I quit playing God, what comes next? Next, we decided, next means immediately, that hereafter in this drama of life, God is going to be our director, not our suggester. And director tells us what to do. He is going to be the principal. Principal owns the company. He is the father. Most fathers or mothers love their children. This is how I take step 3. I'm making a decision. A, I'm going to stop playing God. B, my version of God is now in charge. Mera ho gaya, mera kaam. Acha, what will I get if I do this? Page 63, all the beautiful promises. When we sincerely took such a position, all sorts of remarkable things happened. We had a new employer. He provided whatever we needed. Money, paisa, girls, whatever. If we kept close to him and performed his work well. What is God's work? This is God's work, boss. I wanted to watch the cricket, but I had to speak for Shibu. So I am here. I wanted to sleep, but I am here speaking. I mean, this is God's work. I do this, God will fulfill whatever I need. And when I do this, I'm born again. I'm a new person. Wow. Whom should I do this step with? Page 60 said, we found it very desirable to do this step with our best friend or wife or a spiritual wife. Yes, folks, in 1939 there was no Al-Anon. So husbands, wives, everybody went for the meeting together and everybody did the steps together. So, but we find it better to do it alone than with one who would misunderstand. So I sat for 2 minutes, I told my guy who took me through the stairs, I'm ready, man. I'm willing to do anything. He said, okay. He said, there's a prayer in the big book. If you want, you can use it. God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self that I might better do thy will. Take away my difficulties. That victory over them may bear witness to those I would help. Of your power, your love, your way of life may do thy will. I didn't like this prayer. Oh, ho, ho. Look what the big book says. The big book says the wording is optional, boss. You don't like the prayer, write your own prayer. So I rewrote the third step, which I use for myself. Hey God, I offer instead of self, I put instincts. Money, power, fame, and sex, I offer it to you. You do with me what you want today. And boss, relieve me of the bondage. Don't make me be tied to money, power, fame, and sex. De do humko. Jo mera zarurat hai, what I need, you give me. That I might better do your will. Take away my difficulties. What difficulties do I have? Money problems, retirement problems, health problems, society problems, taxes problems. Son is in US and I am here. I am single. No God. Yeah, take away my difficulties. Why? So I can prove the power of God to newcomers when they come. Wow, this is good. Are there any other prayers I can use? If you have the full-size big book on page 215 and on page 251, they are great ones. God, here I am, and here are all my troubles. You take me and you do anything you want to. Page 251. God, for 18 years I've been trying to solve this problem. Let me turn it over to you. And what is the result? They said it's only a beginning. But this is a very big step and we will feel the result at once. At once, not after 90 days. Is there any action involved in step 3? Yes. If you have the full-size big book on page 420, it says acceptance is the key to my relationship with God today. I never just sit on my backside and do nothing while waiting for God to tell me what to do. I do what's in front of me that must be done. However, it turns out that is God's will. In 2008, when the economy collapsed in the US, I lost my job. I was director of a US and I was in a very bad job. I didn't like it. I didn't hand it over. My resume update kiya. I went for appointments. And eventually, there were 2 jobs. One was paying a lot of money, one not so much. I thought I was going to get the other job. I got this one. Jisme zyada paisa nahi tha. I was not happy with God. After 1 year, there was the hurricane, Sandy. And if I had got that first job, that rehab was gone, job would have been gone, I would have had nothing left. So I have to do the work, leave the results up to God. However it turns out, that is God's will for me. So this is my share on my experience of step 1, 2, and 3. If I've offended anybody, I'm sorry. All I can do is share with you how I've done the steps. And I hope somebody benefited from this. I want to thank Shabu and the Midnight Stars group for inviting me to speak, and see you next Saturday with Step 4. Thank you.